Hello, Internet. My name is Roro, and welcome to my channel. I hope everyone's having a good day. Today, I wanted to talk about something that I deal with pretty often. Not as often as I once did, but it's still definitely a big problem in my life. And that's feeling like I'm constantly about to die. That sounds kind of intense, but let's get into the reasons behind it. So, the first major reason for this is obviously just mental health issues. And specifically, what I deal with regarding this is something called panic disorder. And for anyone who hasn't heard of panic disorder, you can look it up on your own to get like the actual, you know, psychological definition or any of that kind of stuff. But I'll just give an example of how it manifests in my life personally. So when you go outside and it's cold outside and you're not wearing enough clothes and you're cold, you start to shiver, right? It's a normal human reaction because your body's trying to warm itself up. But for anyone who's experienced panic attacks before, you will know that sometimes when you really have a bad panic attack, your body will start to shake and you'll almost start to like uncontrollably shiver from anxiety. And it doesn't matter if it's 80 degrees in the room you're in. So, what this leads to for me is when I'm actually feeling cold and I'm shivering because I'm cold, my mind sometimes triggers that anxiety reaction where my body will start to think that I'm having a panic attack when in reality I'm just shivering because I'm cold. So literally being cold can cause me to have a panic attack. Another example of this that I deal with and I've also seen other people talk about is when it comes to breathing. You know, when you're having a panic attack as well, sometimes it gets hard to breathe. Like you feel like you're short of breath or that you can't take a full breath or something like that. So, in the same way, if I'm running or doing some sort of like physical exertion and I get short of breath, I have to like catch my breath for a moment. That's a totally normal physical reaction to doing something physical. But there's times where my mind will think, oh, you're short of breath. You must be having a panic attack. And then my anxiety thoughts and feelings and all that kind of stuff will start going off in my brain. Literally just because I like, ran 100 feet or something and I'm short of breath. And I'm not sure if this came first or the next thing came first, but this has also all led me to becoming a pretty bad hypochondriac. And for anyone who doesn't know what that is, it's overthinking, health anxiety, basically. Like you have anxiety about your health constantly. And every little thing that happens to you in your body, your brain starts to think is something very serious. And that's where the constantly feeling like I'm going to die comes in. And obviously, that's no way to live a life. But I have a handle on it now a little bit better to some degree because now I'm able to logically see that what I'm thinking and feeling is not true, even if in the moment I feel like I'm dying or I feel like I have some like disease or something like that. Logically, in the moment now, I'm able to see that that's wrong, but that doesn't really help me feel better, if that makes sense. There was a time in the past where I wasn't able to logically see that, and that really will just lead to you Googling stuff, Googling symptoms, reading all these posts on Reddit of people that have these problems or WebMD, all that kind of stuff. And if you deal with this stuff, if anyone watching this also deals with that and tends to Google their symptoms, that kind of stuff, I'm telling you right now, as a person who's dealt with this for many years, don't do it. It's good to get a base understanding, maybe, if you're curious about something very specific that's weird. But in general, there are so many overlapping symptoms with different diseases and all that kind of stuff. And I'm not a doctor, so I don't know what's what. And if you're reading stuff online about symptoms you're having, you're also probably not a doctor. So if you actually think that you have a problem, don't go on Reddit, don't go on Google, just make a doctor's appointment and go to the doctor, get it checked out. Because if it does end up being something serious, that's what you're going to have to do anyway. So give yourself a couple days if you can to like see how you feel. But if you really feel like there's something serious going on, you're not sure if it's anxiety or if it's real, if you can, just go to the doctor. And I've had times in my life where I've thought I was, having all these problems. And then I go to the doctor, and then when I'm walking into the doctor, the logical part of my brain will kick in and be like, there's nothing wrong with you. You're overreacting. You're being silly. But then the anxious part of my brain still is like, well, I don't know that for sure. So that's why I'm coming to the doctor to get it checked out, all that stuff. And I'll feel a little bit of like shame or guilt. And, 99% of the time, I'm fine. Or if there actually is something happening, it's nothing serious enough where I'm going to like die in a week, which is what my brain wants me to think is happening. And this is just one of the aspects of the mental illness problems that I have. But this one really can be the most detrimental at times and really take me out for like weeks on end, where I'll be convinced that I have some ailment, you know? And sometimes it's shitty because the path that you create for your thoughts in your head, you can make it seem logical. Like, for example, there's diabetes that runs in my family. I'm a pretty healthy person. I'm not, I'm not even pre-diabetic or anything like that. But the smell of my armpits started to smell differently. And for some reason, it freaked me out. I don't even know if it's real. I could have just been perceiving it as smelling differently because of my anxiety. But for some reason, it led me to Googling symptoms. And one of the symptoms of diabetes is a change in your body odor, or like your breath will smell differently, which mine didn't smell differently. But I managed to convince myself that I had diabetes, even though logically it made no sense. I didn't have any of the other symptoms that a diabetic person or a pre-diabetic person would have. So what I did is I went to the doctor at like 11 p.m. on a weekday, and in my head it was like an emergency. I needed to know right away. So I went to the doctor. I got all this blood work done. They gave me like a general checkup, and I ended up being completely fine in every aspect of my blood work. I was completely fine. Nothing was even like slightly too high or slightly too low. And then that feeling immediately went away. Instantly, I was completely fine. And that is so frustrating to deal with. I don't even know how to explain it to someone who doesn't deal with it, but it is the worst feeling ever because you feel so good. And it's almost like you're reborn into a new life. It's like you were healed from the ailment that you thought you had, but it was all just anxiety. And it really makes me think like stress can cause physical issues in your body. Your thoughts can create inflammation in your body. Like, your mind has a lot more power than you think it does. And whatever you focus your energy on, it's going to keep feeding into it, and it's going to keep making that grow and grow. Even if it's a negative, bad thing that's affecting you negatively. So you really just have to be careful with where you let your mind go. And it's a lot easier said than done, but that's why therapy exists, That's why like the support of people around you exists, because sometimes it's not that serious. Sometimes you just need to tell somebody and they're like, nah, you're bugging. And you're like, you know what? I am bugging. And that's enough. And you're able to see it for what it is and kind of calm down from there. Every single time this happens to me, I don't end up at the doctor. There was a time where it happened more often, but, for the most part now, because of all the work that I've done, I'm able to calm myself down more so than I once did. But I still deal with this pretty regularly, and it feels like it's completely out of my control sometimes, which is such a terrible feeling, and I hate it. I don't know how else to say it. I hate dealing with it. And I could get into like the causes of why I deal with this or why I think I deal with this, but that could honestly be a whole other video. So I think I'm going to end this video here. Thank you guys for listening. I'm really trying to open up more and get more personal and just tell more stories from my life on this channel. Because one, I want to document them for my own reference, just to see where I was at certain times, looking back. And two, I feel like people are connecting with the things that I'm saying on my channel. So I might as well be as open as I possibly can. You know what I mean? This is such a good way for me to work things out. And I'm really grateful for everybody that's been watching my videos thus far. If you like this video, check out other ones on the channel. I talk about a lot of, similar topics, and I put out a new video every Sunday. So you can come back next week for a new video. And yeah, I'll see you guys next week.